Hey everyone, welcome to Start Your Dungeons. I'm Adam,
I'm Bryce.
and today we're talking about the new role-playing game Flabbergasted.
It's a really cool, how does it say it? A comedy role-playing game set in the roaring 1920s is the
And
best way to describe it.
The way that you described it to us, and I think it's even don't they even say it somewhere on the back of the book? Like if you're familiar with the show Faulty Towers.
Yeah, or like the old Jeeves and Woosters, again, sort of those old school kind of like BBC comedy shows. It feels very much kind of in that sort of vibe. So if that grabs you, then already you're probably going to like this one. It's a really fun, kooky book. It was up for an Emmy as well for best art, and I think also product of the year. And even though Fabula Ultima won those in most cases, I think this one definitely deserves some praise. It got my attention from that, so really excited to review this one.
So what comes in the book? Give us a brief summary and then talk about the quality.
So Flabbergasted is a rules light system, and when I say that, I got to finally run this for the first time the other day. We only rolled dice twice. So, and I probably could have made them roll more, but I ended up just kind of letting it play out and doing things. And so basically the beginning of the book is kind of how to build your characters. There are 4 archetypes available here in the book. There's the aristocrat, the well-to-do, the bohemian, and the staff. And everyone kind of fits a very specific role that they play in there. For the aristocrat, it might be someone from old money. A well-to-do has sort of like maybe a little bit of old money, maybe new money sort of style to it. The bohemian is very much the artsy kind of side of the city. And then the staff are people like gardeners, butlers. And everyone has a stat pool. The way this game works is you only have 4 stats that you fill in, and basically for every point you have in a stat, you roll a d6. So it's a d6 pool system. Every 5 or 6 is a success, and you're just trying to get as many successes as possible. Really simple system that's kind of very much built around the idea of really building your characters. So what I did for my campaign that I just ran for this was we built our characters, went through the whole thing, developed all your characters, and then really the only thing that matters gameplay necessarily wise, besides just adding to the role play of your character, is you have your stats, your 4 stats, and then you have a bunch of scene cues. And the scene cues are abilities kind of like playbooks and from playbooks and Monster of the Week and other Powered by the Apocalypse games. And basically what you can do is there are things you can do without rolling dice.
Yeah.
So there are little things like, do you know who I am? Using your name to get around town. What's cool is there's a sliding scale, which actually can lead to you being more scandalous in people's eyes by doing some of these abilities or not. Very cool system. And that's kind of the beginning of the book. The middle of the book is more about the city itself, which is the city of Peccadillo, which is kind of like based on in 1920s London. And then the end in the back of the book is one of my favorite parts. There are 70 story ideas that you can run with, 10 of which were done by Kickstarter members for this book, which I think is really cool. They're all very diverse. They're all very interesting. And then the back is there's 2 different like groups that you can play as that are kind of pre-made, because you build your characters, and I forgot to mention the other big part of this, you are part of a club. So your club is based around a theme. The one that mine did was they were a historic preservation society, so they were the tree houses people, because they were all about trees and like making sure that everything stayed its natural way. Not so much about, everything being modernized as it was in the city. Kind of played really well with the theme. And then they have in the back of the book, again, a sandbox adventure set in like a summer manor that you can kind of play and do some things. There's also quick starts available online for this. There's, I think, 2 adventures for that and 2 pre-gen fold-out ones that you can download off the website.
How easy is it to get into the game?
So I think that this game, from the side of a player, pretty easy. I think that the thing about this is you're not rolling dice to determine stats. You're not really doing a whole lot other than me. Like when we went through it, I went, tell me your age, tell me your profession, tell me what you look like, tell me what your flaw is, tell me your background, tell me. So you do a lot of things that are like built to build your character from the ground up, but it's not like rolling stats. It's more of what is my character's kind of story in this world, and then getting thrown into the hijinks that kind of revolve around your club.
So maybe if you can role play and improv, it's probably easy for a player.
It is. I'll say this too. The game I played this with the other day had a 10-year-old in it who did fantastic. Like really, he was a painter. Mm-hmm. He did a really great job of just like kind of playing through it. I had to meet with the art society to help them. They were doing this Met Gala that they were trying to get their name in the newspaper with. Did a really cool job of kind of talking with it, going through it. So I think it's so simplistic as a player to jump into that it really is something that, like I said, even like a 10-year-old could really pick up. He had a little bit of help from his dad, but he really was able to kind of get in the groove of what he wanted to play.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of talked about what you liked about the system. So what do you not like about the system?
So I'll talk about it, and I'll add also what's from getting into this as a game master. I really like the system simplicity, but when I was running it, I ended up kind of being worried about how to run it. So I spent time trying to develop this idea and all that, but I realized that the sandbox that I created for my players was too much of a sandbox for me to prepare for. So what ended up happening was I literally said, here's the challenge from the rival club. Here you go. You have to get your name in the paper. You can't do anything illegal unless you do it under the table. And that it was a race to get your name in the paper for an event. That's kind of it. And then I let them go buck wild. I will say that the prompts in here are really great. The city of Peccadillo is really well put together as well. So you can kind of look through it and kind of figure out, hey, there's this part of the city that I want to focus on and, kind of grow out. But I do think as a game master for this, and it's called the director actually in this game, like you're directing a stage play kind of style. I think if you're not used to building your own, it does help that it has the little 70 different campaign, little like spontaneous ideas. But I think you're going to have to do a lot of back end work to kind of build out and say, hey, this is what I want to do, and build out the world itself as a whole before you really let your players go wild. Maybe if it's an easier way to kind of like streamline them, you could do that. But the way I did it, I think I went too freeform, and I think it hurt me.
Is this book a complete game? Could you play this indefinitely?
Oh yeah, 100%. So it's a core rule book. It pretty much has everything you need to play in it. What's really nice is, at the moment, this is the only book that's available for it. There is a Kickstarter coming for a new occulty kind of book to add to it. A little bit of like hijinks and occult stuff from like the 1920s. Sounds kind of fun.
Appropriate Lovecraftian time period.
Exactly. So I think it kind of fits that role. But really, this is a complete book. What's nice is too, like, the players' like kind of character sheets are very similar to playbooks from Powered by the Apocalypse. So you just print out what everyone's playing and then go. I think the variety of options are really nice too. Like a staff member is very different from like an aristocrat, and it kind of changes how you can get around dynamics and stuff.
So who is this book for? Is this for new players, for seasoned players? What do you think?
I played it with two or three people who are very versed in role-playing games, one who is kind of new, and then a 10-year-old child. So, like, this is what I'll say based on, like, that kind of understanding of looking at how they all did it. They all really, really enjoyed it. However, I think that these people who play with me have really grabbed role-playing games as a whole. With the group I play, I ran this at my local store. And they've really gotten into the whole swing of, like, I'm going to be a character. I don't think if you're new to role-playing, you might like this if you want something with a little bit more rules. Because, again, it's not really about it. Like, it was more like us all having conversations and engaging in this staged, almost, performance is a good way to put it almost of the game. Which I really, really liked in some ways, but also I think frustrated me because I'm used to playing things on my feet and kind of running through things. I could show up to a table and run a game without much setup, but this one was, maybe it was my own personal worries, but I feel like I struggled with it more. And maybe as a new player you might struggle, but use the sandbox in the back of the book. I think that will really help you, is to go like, hey, this game's gonna start. We're in our summer manor for the summer. Like, do a little bit of hijinks and fun in there, and then maybe spread out because the goal of this game is kind of built around it. It's very like TV episodic, kind of in the way it plays.
Yeah.
It really wants you to jump between scenes and then be like 2 or 3 episodes, maybe as they call it, to like finish a storyline max. So I think if you're a newer player and you like a little bit heavier rules, may not be for you, but if you really want to play something that's a little rules light and kind of just free form and just play, like I said, I rolled dice twice, and really I did it because I was like, man, we haven't rolled dice yet tonight. And I think you don't need to, again, like you could really run this game with just the abilities and call it a day, which is really nice to see that there's something that this is so built around the theater and the story of it and not just roll a dice every time you try to make a check kind of thing.
So would you recommend trying this either as a player or as a DM?
I think you should. I think this one is interesting because unlike a lot of our other games where I really, really enjoyed and want to keep playing it, I think I'm going to step back a little on this one and not run it for a little bit and maybe give it some time to really think about it more. But I do think if you really are looking for a game that's also very much not about combat. There is no combat in this, really. There's no, like, fighting.
It's comedy.
Yeah, you know, like, it's slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
In a way that we don't really see in a lot of role-playing games, I think, which makes it really interesting to play this one. I think I don't know if I would necessarily, like, run it a lot. I might play it a little bit more. I do think it's a good one, and I think if you are looking for something to test your player's creativity as a whole, definitely look into this one because, again, there's no dungeon crawl. There's no shooting monsters in space. This is, I have to figure out how to get catering for my wedding, and the evil club that's rivals with us got the best caterer. So how do I either sabotage their catering and or get, you know, my own catering? And that was what I really enjoyed. You know, my throat really hurts from doing voices last night for it. I just literally had so much, like, I was doing voices of, like, these distinguished old men who, you know, work for the hierarchy, and it was just really fun. But, yeah, I don't know. I like the game. I do think, though, it is definitely a time investment to run. But if you really like this, go for it. I mean, what is your thoughts based on? You unfortunately didn't get to play with us, but
I didn't. I mean, I would like to try it as a player.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I try to be funny. You know, whenever we have a game that I know that the game master is okay with me being funny. So I try to make sure that I at least keep things lighthearted.
Yeah.
This seems like a theme that I could run with.
Right.
I don't know about running it, you know.
Yeah. I think
it seems like a lot to remember.
It might be a little bit of that. I think if you really sit down and develop the ideas of it, you can kind of just go with it, you know. Doing something as simple as even like just setting it in the world of like these great British, you know, comedy sitcoms, like idea, like a Fawlty Towers or Jeeves and Wooster kind of style. If you like that sort of style, this book is definitely for you because that's really what this is. I feel like is an homage to those British comedy sort of role-playing sort of series. So, but overall, yeah, it's weird, like, because I really do like it, but I definitely think, more of an interesting game that I'm not looking to play a lot, but more of like do little bits here and there and kind of do fun little comedy as to get away from when we're playing like Monster of the Week where we're killing a bunch of monsters and Pathfinder where we're fighting goblins and all this other. It's like it's nice to have something a little bit different. And if you're
lighthearted,
to me, I don't really feel like, and I might be wrong on this, this seems like a book that's on its own in the market. There's not another book like this kind of style, and I think that makes it go up a little bit more in value for me as well.
Well, if you've played it or you have questions, please let us know down in the comments, and see you next time.
Y'all take care.
Bye.